Right, welcome back to the channel. So today we are at the beautiful Reigate Hill here in Surrey Golf Lab, and we've actually got a bit of sun. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to talk about controlling your low point with your driver and potentially why you can't essentially hit up on your driver. So really the best players in the world are sort of maximizing what they can do with their driver. They're delivering the most amount of speed with the most appropriate loft and angle attacks to get the ball as far as they can. So today what we're going to do is we're going to discuss why potentially you might be struggling with the driver, and let's see if we can help you hit the ball a little bit further. Let me just see if I can waltz a couple out there. So we've got quad on, and these are, say, my warm-up speeds, and I'm going to hit a batch of 5 and a batch of 5, and more importantly we're just going to focus on the descending or upward cycle of the golf club. 5 balls one way, 5 balls another way, and we're going to go and have a look at the data. Well, that's 5 one way. Now I'm going to hit 5 another way, and then we're going to look at some data. That's how people hit balls. How do they hit balls?
Okay, so here we have two sets of data. We've got shoulder B and we've got shoulder FW. So shoulder back, shoulder forward, and we're going to talk about the consequences of these ideas in general. Now the reality here is you can see the big differences, right? We've got 243 carry, 250, 244, 262, 250. So an average carry there of 250 yards. Spin rate at 2.6. Rather than the shoulder forward scenario, which you're going to see much more in the above section, average carry 223. So I've found 25 yards just talking about shoulder ideas. I've hit my sort of stock fade shot, which I feel is relatively neutral and sort of reliable. I've hit one slight pull and a couple of fades. And typical data when I look at the shoulder forward, I have real issues. Now this is a real problem with people that are struggling with drivers. And you can actually see the offline scenarios here. You've got 45 yards to the right. Now there's definitely some miss hits going on here on the bottoms. This is just raw data. But average collective pooling of shots there, only 4 yards offline. Now there is discrepancies from left to right. That is not what this video is about. This is about finding 25 yards and not altering your pattern.
Right, so let me just let you into the secret of how I have changed my data to find 25 yards in 5 shots. Now, the key is the left knee shoulder. So let's say the underneath of the armpit. Now you can see here I've just got an age, just something to reference where in relative terms a vertical line would be. Now, if we can understand as a set of golfers that our golf club is always going to return back to its low point underneath my left knee shoulder. So that means I'm always working on the up, so the golf club is sort of traveling up, if always past the point we've got which the lead arm reaches its vertical. Now wherever your shoulder is going to be the point where the lead arm works into a vertical position. Now if my lead shoulder and my general frame is way behind the golf ball, it's going to work to a vertical beforehand, and I get to work up at the moment strike. If I maybe move my frame too much to my lead side, my lead and left arm is now working down past that golf ball. So remember, wherever we're setting up from, our lead shoulder is literally, let's call it like the access point. This is the baseline. This is ground zero. And the piece that we forget as golfers, if I stand here in front of this cane with you, and I said to you that this is where the golf club not only starts to hit up and reaches its low point, so the golf club's going to reach its low point on this cane, and now it's going to start to hit up. It's also going to start to close. The club face is also going to start to close for me. If I said to you this is where it squares up, this is where the low point is, this is where, let's say, zero baseline is, before I get to that point, the club face is open. So my set that I've missed way right, the set that I've just carved on average for 5 balls, 50 yards right of target, is essentially happening because I'm setting up in a way that is, in my world, a bit tilted to the right, because I hear so often, well, if you want to hit it high, tilt your body. But the reality here is now I feel fully loaded. I feel really stacked onto my trail side. Now it's hard for me to stay there and create any power. I'm going to have to, I feel, in my preference, I feel like I'm going to use a lot of body work. Irrespective of how you're setting up, let's make sure that our lead shoulder isn't working too much towards the target. Because if it's working too much towards the target, in relative terms, that golf ball goes back on our arc. So the more that I move my body towards the target, my swing direction, the golf ball will go back on my arc, and the golf ball is going to start further and further to my right. Essentially, the more I stay behind the golf ball, the more my swing direction is going to start to almost square up, and now my start line can be a little more to my left. Now for us, most of us that fade it, this is really useful. I don't need a ball that's starting right with a cut. So let's understand a hit up To hit a little more fairways, our lead shoulder needs to be behind where it starts. So to help you play better golf, my advice would be to set yourself up relatively neutrally with spine angles. So nothing crazy and tilts forward or back. Just try and set up relatively neutral. So the ball position, I would say certainly like left heel as a general average. For most, you do a little bit of testing on that, but that's going to really help. And then from there, start to do a bit of mirror work. Grab your phone, do a bit of mirror work, and just work yourself up to the backswing position. And start to feel what it takes to get your lead shoulder behind the golf ball. Now this might feel like many of you are putting in a bit of right side bend, sort of right side lower. It might just generally feel like you're just keeping your eye line up. Whatever it is, let's just try and keep our lead shoulder more behind. Now you could, in theory, and we'll get an alignment stick, trusty old alignment stick. I sort of know now that that alignment stick is sort of underneath my left knee shoulder. If I get ahead of it, I can tell. I've definitely got ahead of it. I can feel my body's ahead of it. My goal here is to try and feel like at impact, be able to hit up at the golf ball, be able to maximize some spin and launches, maybe a couple of degrees, nothing crazy, don't want to overdo this. We're just trying to feel what it takes to stay behind that line. And the more you can do that, the better golf you're going to play. Ah, that is actually a rope. That is actually a rope. Any questions, guys, please let me know. Hit like, subscribe, bell icon for future posts. If this helps you or if this hinders you, please let me know. Let me know how it interacts with your game. Again, this is designed for the player that maybe gets a little bit ahead of it, got places a little bit open, struggling to hit the fairways. Let's just stay a little more behind it to launch it a little more past your mates.